Welcome to this explainer. Okay, right off the bat, I want you to take a second and actually look at the device you're using right now. The screen, the battery, the chips inside, it's wild, right? Its creation wasn't just some single event in one building. It was a massive journey scattered all over the planet. Today, we're going to unpack exactly why global chains shape trade and how they literally dictate the way our modern world is built.
It really all boils down to one simple question. How does a pile of dirt and raw materials become a premium high-tech product? Well, to figure that out, we have to look at the literal concept of a chain. You see, in economics, value doesn't just magically appear out of thin air. It is forged, link by deliberate link, from the exact moment a material is pulled from the ground to the very second that shiny new product lands in your hands.
So to get our heads around this massive idea, we're taking a zoom-out journey for this explainer. We're going to cover 1. Decoding the value chain, 2. Adding value step by step, 3. The global value chain, 4. Shaping global trade, and 5. The future of value. Let's get into it.
Section 1. Decoding the value chain, the micro level. Okay, to understand the whole global economy, we actually need to start super small. We're going way back to 1985, to a foundational concept famously introduced by Michael Porter called the value chain. Think of it as a specific sequence of activities an organization performs to design, produce, market, deliver, and support its goods. The big takeaway here, the whole is absolutely greater than the sum of its parts. Because at every single step of this sequence, a little bit more value is actively added to the product.
Now, Porter was super specific about how we should look at this. He pointed out that the right level to construct this chain is the specific business unit, not some massive division or the company as a whole. Why? Well, if you only look at a giant overarching corporate structure, you might completely miss the hidden, almost invisible sources of competitive advantage. You really only spot those when you look closely at the day-to-day operations of a single unit.
Moving on to Section 2, adding value step by step, the links in the chain. Let's actually pop the hood on a business unit and see how these links work on the factory floor.
Porter splits the chain into 2 main buckets. On one side, you've got primary activities. Think of these as the hands-on, frontline steps that directly create value for the customer. Then, on the other side, you've got support activities. These are the behind-the-scenes functions that actually allow those primary activities to do their jobs effectively.
Let's blast through the 5 primary steps chronologically. Step 1 is inbound logistics, getting raw materials from suppliers to your plant. Step 2, operations, literally turning those raw inputs into finished outputs using labor and power. Step 3 is outbound logistics, getting those finished boxes onto delivery trucks heading to the customer. Step 4, marketing and sales, convincing people to actually buy the thing. And finally, Step 5, service, keeping the product working long after it's delivered. The crazy thing is, a company can gain a massive advantage over its rivals by optimizing just one of these 5 steps.
But those primary steps absolutely cannot happen in a vacuum. They are held up by 4 critical support activities. Infrastructure, like your accounting, legal, and management teams. Technological development, the hardware and software. Human resources, recruiting and training your people. And procurement, buying the external stuff you need. Here's the trick. If you boost the efficiency of any of these support functions, your primary steps become insanely effective. Make outbound logistics highly efficient, and boom, you lower shipping costs. That means you either pocket higher profits or you lower prices and crush the competition.
All right, Section 3, the global value chain, zooming out. It's time to pull the camera back from that single factory floor, cross some international borders, and look at the big picture.
Just look at how this idea has exploded over time. In 1985, Porter gives us the basic value chain. Fast forward to the early 90s, and the development sector starts applying this globally. By the late 90s, the emergence of global value chains, or GVCs, acts like rocket fuel, supercharging changes in international trade. And today, production is fiercely international, and we rely on wildly complex frameworks to manage these modern global networks.
So we need to upgrade our definition for the macro level. A global value chain is a massive, interconnected production network operating across industries and nations. These are the networks that actively shape international trade and investment. And at this massive scale, we're no longer looking at single business units. We are looking at multinational enterprises, or MNEs. These MNEs are absolute masters at strategically fracturing their operations to optimize profits. They do not do everything in one place anymore. They might park research and development in one country, handle design in another, and run marketing somewhere else entirely. And crucially, they often offshore the labor-intensive stuff, like physically assembling the parts, to countries like China and Mexico where the cost of labor is lower. They are optimizing every single link of the chain across the entire planet.
But wait, there's a whole other layer here. Johns Viocla and Jeffrey Raport introduced this fascinating idea of the virtual value chain. We've been talking about the physical movement of goods, right? Well, there is an invisible digital ghost chain of information running right alongside it. It's the information infrastructure that supports the real-world procurement, manufacturing, and distribution. Honestly, you simply cannot have a modern physical value chain without this virtual one calling the shots.
Which brings us to Section 4, Shaping Global Trade, the Macro Impact. Let's slow down for a second, because the sheer economic and geopolitical weight of these global networks is staggering.
Because multinational enterprises dictate so much international business, governments are kind of at their mercy. Nations are literally forced to rewrite their own tax and innovation laws just to compete for a single link in these global chains. To attract these mega companies, governments will slash corporate income tax rates, or they'll roll out huge new incentives for research and development. The value chain is directly pulling the strings of government policy.
But it's not all just cutthroat corporate strategy. Big organizations like the World Bank, the UN, and the OECD actually use value chain analysis as a massive tool for economic development. Upgrading national and regional value chains is now a core strategy for poverty reduction. If these practitioners can understand the chain, they can help developing nations grab on to more profitable links.
This is one of my favorite real-world examples of this in action. The International Crops Research Institute for the Semi-Arid Tropics, or ICRISAT, ran a project in India focused on a biofuel crop called sweet sorghum. By analyzing and strengthening that specific value chain, they hit the absolute jackpot. They boosted incomes for the rural poor, protected the local environment, and managed to maintain food and fodder security all at the same time. Optimizing a chain literally changes human lives.
Finally, we arrive at Section 5, the future of value, the value system. Because believe it or not, firms are already aggressively trying to rewrite the rules to tilt this massive board in their favor.
Michael Porter actually envisioned this natural evolution. He termed it the value system. We've moved way past just worrying about your own firm's chain. A value system is a massive, synchronized, industry-wide beast. It links the value chains of a firm's suppliers and their suppliers, the firm itself, the distribution channels, right down to the buyers. Everyone is managing their own little chain, but they are all completely tangled together.
Want to know how big this coordination is? Think about the number 700. Right now, there are over 700 member companies, government agencies, and academic groups in the Supply Chain Council. They use universal reference models, like the SCORE framework, to completely standardize planning, manufacturing, and logistics globally. I mean, even the U.S. Department of Defense uses these frameworks to manage product design. The standardization is absolute.
So here is the crucial takeaway. Modern management strategy is totally obsessed with capturing the value generated inside this massive system. Companies are endlessly inventing new ways to grab a bigger slice of the pie. For example, an assembly plant might brutally force its parts suppliers to build a factory right next door just to kill transportation costs. Or they'll exploit digital information flows to completely bypass middlemen. It's exactly why the company that designs your phone captures vastly more profit than the factory that physically builds it.
Which leaves us with one final thought to chew on as we wrap up this explainer. Take another look at the device you're holding right now. Think about the miners, the designers, the assemblers, the marketers, and the governments that all fought tooth and nail to be a link in its creation. In a globally interconnected system this massive and complex, who really captures the most value? Is it the creators, the assemblers, or the ones who control the final link to you? Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. Keep questioning the world around you.